Hey guys, it's Jenny. I am here with you today for a little look into my lettering. Before I even get started, before I even break out these products, I want to tell all of you this is not going to teach you how to letter. It's going to tell you the very little bit that I know about lettering. It's going to tell you about a few supplies, and in the description below I will link you to some of the Instagram people that I follow that I learned by watching. I will also link you to some free Tombow practice sheets. And I just want to make it very clear. I don't want you to be disappointed. So if you are thinking I'm going to teach you how to brush letter, then you should probably just stop watching, because that's not what this is. I will give you some tips. I will tell you a little bit about it, but I'm not going to teach you how to letter. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to get started. Let's talk about all of these markers that I have out here, okay? So first, you see your typical normal Crayola broad tip markers that you can find at Target or Walmart or Walgreens or Amazon, wherever. We also have the Crayola super tip markers. I have a wide variety of them, maybe like 50 or something. I don't even remember how many there are here, but the entire rainbow. I think this cost $6. It was not expensive at all. I think I picked them up at Walmart, where I actually never go, but I was there and they had them and I bought them. This case that I keep them in is from Daiso. It was $1.50. It's perfect for this. You may or may not have a Daiso in your area, but that's how I store these, and I know I will get questions about the storage, and it's actually fabulous, so I'm sorry that you don't have it. This is a $1.50 brush tip marker that I also picked up at Daiso, and I will tell you a little bit about it, but obviously it's super inexpensive. These are the two Tombow brush pens that I use a lot in my videos. You see these often. They're under $5 for both. You can get them on Amazon. I will link them up for you below. This is a Tombow dual brush marker. I adore them. They are amazing. They are vibrant and beautiful, and you can do so many different things with them. They have two different tips, so this one's great for writing. This other one is obviously great for coloring and for brush lettering and so many different things. Now there are so many things to talk about with these, so let's go ahead and get started. Now with my Crayolas, I just use, or an inexpensive pen like this one, I just use regular old paper. This is literally just a little cheap sketchbook I got at Daiso. It's $1.50. You could pick one up at Target or Amazon or whatever. I don't worry about it. These markers are $3. I don't give it a whole lot of thought. I'm going to use a dark color, not because I love dark colors, though they're fine, but because I want to share with you and make sure that you're able to see. Now these markers, they do have a slight learning curve, but I love them for brush lettering, okay? I love them, especially if you're going to be writing large. They look beautiful and they're so inexpensive. I mean, you just won't get a cheaper marker. So here's the thing. When you're doing brush lettering, your downstrokes are going to be thick and your upstrokes are going to be thin. Okay? So that means thick for down, and thin for up. Now, there are a lot of things that I want to say about brush lettering, but I've been working and practicing on this for about a year. So it's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect. I'm not a professional and I'm not going to try to sell my work. But for using for my own personal, in my planner or on personal projects at home, I'm super comfortable with it. I like it. It works out okay. And I usually practice until I get it right. or get it to where I'm satisfied. And that's what I recommend for all of you. If you want to become professional brush letterers, obviously you should take a course and learn from someone who can really teach you. But if you want to just do it for your personal gain, let's talk about that here. So now one of the things about the downstroke is that you want to hold it fairly upright, or the upstroke, I'm sorry, the upstroke. You want to hold it fairly upright. You can even hold it at a slight angle, okay? Now for the downstroke, you're going to need to keep your marker at less than a 90-degree angle, okay? So 180, okay, I totally lied, because you're not even going to be able to hold your marker like this. But you're going to want to keep it somewhere between 90 and 180. So, for example, I think this would probably be somewhere nice and right around 135 if this was my guess. You're going to want to capture that thick, it's hard for me to share it, but do you see how it's got the diagonal? You're going to want to use that entire side as much as possible for your downstroke, okay? So, when you are doing your upstrokes, you can hold the marker how you normally would. You'll get this broad, normal, thin tip. If you want to create downstrokes, you need to hold the marker at an angle. That's right there, that's what I would suggest you do to try to capture the angle so that your hand knows what that feels like. So I'm going to do this, and then I shift my marker ever so slightly as I'm coming around. Now, this isn't a race, okay? You can go as quick or as slow as you need to. You can also color in and add a little bit if you're not happy with the thickness of your lines. Which leads me to talking about faux brush lettering, where you aren't actually brush lettering. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the future. So this is Crayolas, okay? And they're wonderful. I can't say enough good things about them, and they will be super affordable for you to try, okay? So you can see right here in real time that I am writing the word Crayola using a Crayola, okay? So remember, you're going to want to hold your marker at a greater angle to create these downstrokes, and I highly recommend you practicing to know what that feels like, okay? So the downstrokes are thin and thick, goodness gracious, and the upstrokes are thin, okay? That is the Crayola broad marker. Looks like this. Your kids probably have some in your stash. You can probably get started today with some printer paper. I'm not even joking. And I'm telling you, it's genuinely one of my favorites. There's very little worry or concern or any of that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with the super tips. Okay, so the super tips are wonderful. I love them. They come in a variety of colors. They're easy to use. However, I don't love them as much as the broads, and it's just personal preference. You might like the super tips as well. However, you know what the super tips are great for? Coloring in stamps in your planner. They're great. So if you went out and you purchased them and you decided you didn't love them, you're not out. You can still totally use them. Now the same things are true for the super tips as they were for the broad. You're going to want hold your marker around 135 degrees. So not 90, not 180, somewhere right in the middle. And you're going to want to pull down using that whole chiseled tip. Then you can work on the thin, holding your marker fairly straight. Okay, so same thing, all right? Thin up, thick down. Super tips are wonderful. They are not as easy for me to do the lettering, but every person is different and you will find something that works good for you. I love the broad. They work really well for me, but these come in a crazy amount of beautiful colors, okay? So you want to do thick down strokes, and you want to do thin upstrokes. Now I think one of the things about the super tips that I don't like as much is that the tip is not as precise and not as firm as the, I just dropped it on my shirt, as the broad tipped. But they're still great, they're still really inexpensive, and they're definitely still worth mentioning. Now let's talk about the cheapy calligraphy marker that I picked up at Daiso. Okay, $1.50. You can probably buy these other places. I don't know, but this is something that I've tried. Now, one of the good things I have to do is it's the same thing. Pull down, thin up strokes, Now, here is something you can probably see about this marker, okay? If you're looking closely, or maybe if you're not, like right through there, you can see the two little tiny lines. My brush is beginning to fray. That happens when you use a paper like this, just your average cheap paper, okay? The tips of your markers will fray and you'll be frustrated because now, maybe you won't be frustrated with a $1.50 marker, but if you spend more on your markers, you'll be frustrated when they start to fray. But here's something I'm here to tell you. We can prevent that. But $1.50 brush marker, it's going to be the same thing as what we talk about with the super tips, or the Tombow dual brush markers. But the same things apply about your downstrokes and your upstrokes, okay? I just wanted to show this to you so that you knew it was an option. I don't ever use this marker, never, ever. I just pulled it deep from the confines of my stash. Now I'm going to take this pad and I'm going to put it away. I'm going to put it away with my Crayola markers because that's where it stays always, because I don't use this pad with my better markers. Now this is a Rhodia Pad. Okay, you've probably seen this before. They're around. They come with so many different options. This is a dot pad. It has a very, very slight dot grid, okay? But it is, sorry, I had to think about that for a minute. They also have graphs, they also have plain, they also have lined, they have so many different options and sizes and types that you don't have to get them spiral. And they come with a nice thick chipboard back so that you can write on them also. This is a, let's see, basically 8.5 by 11, give or take a couple of inches. Now, with this pad, I'm going to share with you a little bit about my Tombow markers. Now, let's be clear. This is not a comprehensive list of different types of markers or paper. This is what I use. So like I said to you at the beginning, if you are looking for a super comprehensive lettering video about how to letter, you are going to want to look somewhere else. But if you want to know how I letter, the things I use, and a couple of small tips, this is the place for you. So I use the Rhodia pads. They're easy to get. I get them on Amazon, of course. And I use these with my Tombow brush pens. Okay, so I use them with the smaller tips and the larger tips. Now let me show you. Both of these are the same. It's just the softness that's different. The size is about the same. Can you see how different the size of the brush is? I'm going to bring it a little closer to the camera so you can see. So that teeny tiny little black dot, that's the brush, and then the hot pink is the brush. Okay, so you can see those are vastly different. right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say, what should we write? Let's write happy. Although it's a hard word to write, but for me. And again, that's another thing. Everybody has their different types of words and letters that give them fits. So what's hard for me is not hard for you. Okay, so you can see that this is a good size for this marker, okay? If I tried to write larger, it's still nice. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not able to get the same thickness from my letters, right? Do you see that? But it's still very lovely and it still works exactly how I need it to work. So, see that? Okay. So now, these markers are amazing. You see me use them every week in my Happy Planner. They're less than $5 for both of them, a hard tip and a soft tip. And there's some differences between the two, certainly. They're not the same, but they're very similar. So I don't often really necessarily talk about which one is which because it's really not that important. I actually personally use them interchangeably. I prefer the blue one, but it's not a thing. I like them both. Now, with the Tombow, you can see, remember, the brush is much, much bigger. So first I'm going to show you what feels natural with this brush size. I love this color, by the way. It's one of my very favorites. You've probably seen me use it before. It's just beautiful and vibrant, and the ink is juicy, and I love it. It's just such a joy to write with. Okay, so that's what about the size that feels very natural for me. Now, if I try to write smaller, it's not impossible, but I just don't get as good of results. For me, a professional can probably tell you how to change this and make it a little bit better. But for me, with the size of the brush, it's really just too big. It looks awkward, it's kind of fat, it's not good, okay? But the color is beautiful, right? It's so pretty. It's fun to color with, and something that we did not talk about is these are, if you've watched my videos, you know, because I talk about this sometimes, I can make them different shades. So you see how I'm coloring with the pink. Okay, it's pretty. But now I want to make a little bit darker pink. So I'm just going to go over that and go over that and go over that. Then I'll go a little bit darker on the next one and blend up. Now you're having a little bit of a hard time because there's a little bit of fraying, or not fraying, but the paper is not so good. But you can see the difference there about how I can layer color to make, see how it got darker? There's the original. Hopefully you can tell. Anyway, so those are really, these markers are super fun. They're great to use and they're wonderful for brush lettering. However, I don't prefer them in my planner for lettering. Now let's talk about faux lettering. So I've just got this other side. Say I use this whole tip up, what can I do? Now I can write smaller with this tip because obviously it's a finer point, though I would hesitate to call it a fine point in terms of like a pen. Now, where are my downstrokes? Think about where are my downstrokes? Where do I write down? Yep, another right there. Okay, so now I can color that in. Look at that. It looks like brush lettering, but it's not. I didn't use a brush. The same thing here. Oh my gosh, that's genius, right? So you take where your downstrokes would be. I just color in an additional line and make it thicker. And there is some faux brush lettering. Because you know, I didn't use a brush pen. Now it looks different. Obviously it's different. But if it's standing alone, it doesn't look that different at all. So it's a fun way to add brush lettering when you don't have a brush marker, or say you don't have good paper, but you only have your nicer markers and you don't want to use it. So why not just use a gel pen or whatever you have, right? So just remember, thicker down, thinner up. Work on your angles. The angles are 100% where it's at for brush lettering. How you hold the angle of the pen. Now, I would also say, I'm just going to add it down here. Go slow. All of the brush lettering you see, people didn't just make it out, okay? They went slow. Make those nice shapes. Pause. Bring your pen up. Put your pen back down. See? Slow. Then practice. Don't I tell you this about stamping too? Practice, practice, and then practice some more. Nobody wakes up good at brush lettering. If you look at everybody's first attempt, it's pretty much terrible, okay? So don't lose enthusiasm for the product or project. Just know, okay, I'm starting here. I want to get to here. I will get better. So that's about all I have to share with you. I will, like I said, share the names of some Instagrammers down below. I will link to the Tombow practice sheets, and I will link you to all of these products that I can anyway down below as well. Now remember, you can get all of the Crayola markers at your local outlets. The same thing with the sketch pad. It was nothing fancy. I don't know where you live, so if you can get these types of things in your store. I actually think Target might carry some Rhodia pads. I don't know. It's about the tooth of the paper, okay? So it's not about anything other than that. It's that these pads have less tooth, so it's not going to snag the end of your brush markers, okay? Sorry to throw that tip in there. I should have probably talked to you about that before. But anyway, thanks guys. I hope you're not terribly disappointed with my lettering video, but this is what I've got for you, okay? So thanks so much for watching. Please leave all your questions, comments, concerns down below, and make it a great day.